So to start the machine, it's going to give me an IP address. Now, whilst it's trying to do that, I would go ahead and then connect to my Hack the Box VPN. Okay, so mostly when you are starting off and then you don't have the VPN configuration file, you just click on connect to Hack the Box, and then you can download whether the machine, starting point, fortress. These are all like categories of like the machines the Hack the Box has. They have machines, they have starting point, they have fortress prolapse. So based on the one you are working on, you download the VPN configuration file from it, and then you're good to go. So I already have that downloaded. So can you see the terminal to the side?
Yes, please.
All right, sure. So I would connect to the VPN using OpenVPN. So sudo OpenVPN, and then the path to where my VPN file is located. So this is how it's stored. So sudo OpenVPN, and then it will ask me for my password, and then I'll type in my password. Now, when it's connected successfully, I'm supposed to see something like initialization sequence completed. All right. So I think somewhere here, so it's here. Yep. So when it's connected, I get an IP address at the top here too, or better still, I can check my IP address, and then this one, tan0, okay, yeah, tan0 here, it's the IP address. Yep. All right, so it started, I've connected my VPN, and then we also have the IP address here. So I copy the IP address by just clicking on it, and then it gets copied. That is how they have designed their system. So mostly what we normally do is when we get the IP addresses on CTF machines. So let me first move to a different directory. I think I have one for BTS. Yeah. All right. So what we normally do is perform Nmap scan, or like let's say perform like a scan. Okay. So what I normally also do is perform the scan using two different tools. So firstly, I'll use RASScan, and then RASScan is a bit fast compared to Nmap. Then I also run Nmap here. Okay. So now RASScan has found 3 ports, but then Nmap is still running. So if you've done a bit of networking or you have some background, you realize that these ports, or this is actually the IP address, and then these are the ports associated to whatever service is running on the system. So we can see that we have port 22, port 21, and then port 80, where RASScan also tries to perform a simple Nmap scan here for us. And it tells us that whatever service is running on port 21 is FTP. At the same time, 22 is SSH, and then we have HTTP. All right. So we can keep this, or better still, our Nmap scan will also give us the same thing. And then we can start performing, or like moving, we can move on to our next objective. Okay. So when we have these things, what do we first do? For me, I'll first try port 80 to see what's there, because whenever there is a port 80 on a particular server, or like the port 80, we know that it's a web service, and then to access maybe a particular resource on a web service on port 80, you can just paste in the IP address in your browser and then hit enter. Since it's port 80 and then it's just HTTP, your browser would try to access it, and then yeah, if there's actually a resource, it's going to get it for you. And you see right now we have something at the title that says security dashboard, which means we are getting something. We just need to wait for it to load. Now, as it's loading, we can still come back to check this whatever we had here. And for 22 is SSH, and then mostly I wouldn't advise you trying 22 first or maybe second. You only try 22 when you have some kind of credentials, because SSH allows for remote login into system. Okay. And then FTP is like a file for file sharing and stuff. So we have 21 here, and then we can try to see if maybe when server or the FTP service was hosted. Okay, maybe the developer left some kind of default stuff on it. So can just move on to a different terminal here and then try to see if we can log in anonymously. That is, log in as someone, but then like anonymous, like someone who doesn't exist but can log into the system. That's FTP. And then if you can see from my background, port 80 has actually opened. All right. So let me perform the FTP. So FTP anonymous at the IP address, if that is correct. Let's check. All right, 245. Then I hit enter. Now it's going to ask me for password. Since it's an anonymous user, mostly we don't provide or we don't know the password, so you can just type in anything or maybe the same word like anonymous and then see if you get login. Okay. So it tells us that the login is incorrect and then we don't have we are not able to log in. All right. So that is just what we'll do for FTP. Now let's go back to check what we have on our web service. Okay. So coming back to this side, we realize that this is what our application gives us. We have a sidebar here, and then we have this interface, security events, field login attempt, and then port scans. We can perform directory parsing. That is, whenever developers have their website created, like whenever developers develop their websites, they mostly have some kind of files and then folders, or like they have a structure. Okay. And then most of them, if it's a folder would contain sub files. If it's a file, files will contain some kind of content. So just from here, we wouldn't be able to tell maybe what folder can we access or what file can we access. So mostly we would perform some kind of a directory brute forcing or like a file brute forcing or term as fuzzing. But the common ones I normally try is the robots.txt. Is that correct? Yeah. I normally try robots.txt because after development or in the process of development, your developer would put some kind of endpoints or locations that they do not want to be crawled by some web crawlers. Maybe they think it's sensitive, that they don't want it to be like out there or something. Yeah. So they are going to put it inside a robot.txt. It doesn't mean that you can't access it. It just means that the crawlers wouldn't be able to access those endpoints. So if there is the existence of that file, we would have seen some content here, and then we would be able to access it, but then there is nothing there. So we can just copy the link
It looks like our presenter has a little problem, so let's give him some time to rejoin us.
All right, no worries.
Sorry, I don't know what happened. This thing just decided to log me out. Let me go back and then share this screen again, and then
Okay. Yeah, we can see what's going on.
wait. Why I need all this? All right, sure. So I was explaining the pass command. Sorry for that. I don't know why it keeps doing that, but yeah, sure. So you have to place the fast keyword wherever you want the words to be placed. Like I said, the words or maybe the suggested files or folders to be placed. Then you specify a word list that is a file containing those words. And I'm using the -e to grep or let's say filter for some kind of extensions. That is, if there are some extensions that are there, maybe sometimes you wouldn't get just as a raw file with just some kind of name, but there are some extensions. So I'm using that one. So when I hit enter, it's supposed to do that, but it's just going to give us, I think, what we have here. Okay. So let's go through what we have here. So we have the first link after the dashboard that says security snapshot. And then if you look at the endpoint, it's /capture. That is if you are looking at this side. When I hover, it says /capture. So you can open that in a new tab and then see what it has for us. Maybe 11. Right? And then the next one says IP config. Now, if we are to look down here, it says IP. So we also open that one, a new tab, and then we have netstart. Okay. So now IP config and then netstart actually has something to do with like networking. So if we visit IP, it does just the normal IP config or IF config we know about. It does just those ones. Am I audible?
Yes.
All right. And then when we come to the netstart, the netstart also gives us some kind of networking information about the system. So yeah. So we can try to modify this one and see if maybe it's executing, like maybe it looks like it's executing a command because we are specifying IP here. And then because we are specifying some kind of like netstart here, maybe if we are able to modify it to maybe give us the result of the ID command, like maybe it would have worked. But in this case, it didn't work. So these two parts wouldn't actually be our way in. I think these two, 1, 2, wouldn't be our way in. Yeah, sure. Because I think they are actually endpoints that are hard coded into the code. But then our focus should be on the security snapshot. Now, if we look here, it's giving us some kind of if you read what it says a 5-second pickup plus analysis. So what I thought was maybe it's recording activities every 5 seconds. So like whatever happens on the system after every 5 seconds, it records it. And it says number of packets 1584. So let's try downloading this one and see what's on it. So 11.pickup. Not supposed to take that long. All right, so if it's taking that long, there is a way we can get it, because I think I have it somewhere here. So let me go to my desktop, hack the box, okay, yeah. Yeah, so I have so we can just it's a pickup file. We can use Wireshark, but I will just try to use the strings 11.pickup. And then this is like whatever we did on the system. So if this one was Oh, why is it messing up? Why is it so slow? So this is like activity logs of whatever we did. So the endpoints we visited and then whatever happened. So I think when I was trying it the first time, because of the fav command I ran, it actually logged most of the word lists that were tried on the system. Let me try the download again and let's see if it's going to work this time. Really? All right, I think this one is a bit faster. I mean, it's not supposed to take that long though. But then the 11 doesn't really give us anything. So the next thing I did was now this is a number, right? So some kind of an ID. So let's say maybe in the program it was coded that at this endpoint, whenever an ID is specified, give maybe the user some kind of result. Okay, and then 11 is actually going to be whatever happened on the system. But what if there is a 10? What if there is a 20? What if there is any other ID? Okay, so you can now start changing the numbers from maybe 1 to 100 or 1 to whatever number you would actually be okay with, and then see what you get. Okay, so I used a proxy tool. This thing is taking like forever. I used a proxy tool like Burp to actually brute force these ones with numbers. Let me stop this thing here. Yeah, so it's giving us captcha. It's basically going to give us whatever we know already. So that one, let me start Burp suit. We're going to start. Yeah. So I'm going to start Burp suit, which is my proxy tool, and then use it to perform my brute forcing on this ID parameter here. Parameter. Yeah, so I'm just going to go to proxy HTTP history, come back here, and then I'll instruct my browser that whenever I make a request, it should go through the proxy server, which is Burp on port 8080. And then I just refresh this page. And then hopefully it should send the request to the proxy server. So when I come to Burp now, I have the request here. So you realize we still have like data 4/11 here. And then I use, so when this is here, we use I used a tool called intruder in Burp. Okay, the intruder for the brute forcing. Okay, yeah. So I just come here and select only the 11. Is this one big enough? Let's see. Okay, so I select only the 11 here. Then where is this intruder? It looks weird. Wow. The one I normally use has these bars somewhere here. That's right. So I just click on the add and it adds it. And then these ones are normally somewhere here. Yeah. So I click on add and it adds this one, telling the tool that, okay, so just like fav, okay, it tells the tool that wherever you see this symbols, replace whatever is there with whatever the user is bringing in. So I'm going to use just numbers. Okay, so I click on the payload type and I select numbers, then I select the range. So we start from 0 to 100, and this is just weird. So I think maybe that is it. And then I hit on start. Then, okay, if that was correct, it's supposed to start moving from 1 to 100. Like you see, it's going through the payload from 1 to 100. This is very slow. Let's check if this one was able to finish downloading and then you see what it's doing. Anyway, so as it's downloading, we can click on the requests that have been made and then see whatever goes in and then whatever comes back from the server. So let's take a look at this side. Whenever we make a request to this endpoint plus an ID, we are given this interface, right? So we just pick a word from this side, maybe number of IP packets, just so we don't have to be scrolling through web. And then I think the response we are interested in. So another search here, I can type in number of IP packets. Then I make sure that whenever I move to the next request, it automatically scrolls down to this side because I'm interested in some numbers. You realize here there is 69, that is at 0. There is 69, there is 72, which are actually different numbers compared to this one. So we can say that, okay, if this, which is 11, gives us maybe whatever we did on the system, what did 0 give us? So you see 0 is also giving us 69 and 72, which is something different. Then we can come to 1. You see 1 gives us nothing. We move to 2. Now 2 gives us 7 number of packets, 7 number of IP packets. 3 gives us 0, 4, 0, 5, 0, 6. And now at 7 gives us 2007. So we can download these ones. That is from the 2, 7, 8, 11 is what we already know about, okay? And then the rest of them, I think from 14 downwards, are actually redirecting us like the front page. So we can download 13, 12, 11, we've already seen what 11 does. And then 2, so 2, 12, 13. And this guy doesn't also want to download fast. I don't know. Let's see what's in 2. Already, let me stop this then. Pause it here. Yeah. So I just pause the attack. And then this is 2. Okay. So if I hit on download, I think 2 actually downloaded a bit faster. I think because it has some less stuff. So it was, the next one was 12 and then 13. Well, I think 7 was part, right? I think we had 7. Yeah, 7. 7, 12, and 13. So let's move to 7. All right, so this is 7. Then let's hit on download. Oh my God, I think 7 is more than even 11. So it will take like forever to download. I think 0 also had something for us. Let's check 0. I think it's this one. 0 had something for us. Yeah, 0 also had like 72. So if 7 is downloading, then 0. And please, if you have any question, you can ask. So I click to download 0. 0 is downloading. Let's just copy them here to analyze them. So now my Nmap scan is done. So you see, if we were waiting for the Nmap scan, it would have finished now. So let's see. Let's just move from our downloads 0.pcap to this side, 11.pcap. What was the next one? Let me check my downloads again. So we've moved 0, we've moved 11, I think 2. Then 2.pcap to this side. So when I list them, you realize we have them here. Now I think this 11 is actually the wrong 11. It's actually the other one. Really, this is how I downloaded. I think we've already seen what 11 does. So let's keep it up 2 and then 0. So let's see what's in 2. So we type in strings 2.pcap, and then it's also giving us like the same thing. So like / capture, and then this is like an a request header, something, yeah, a request header. That is what 2 gives us. But what does 0 give us? All right, so I think 0 looks juicy. Now, what we just did is actually taking advantage of the developer, maybe somebody leaving something in a different ID. I think this one is mostly referred to as the idle vulnerability, where you are able to access objects indirectly. So like you weren't, I see when we just click on this one, a normal user is actually going to see 11 and then be okay with 11 because that is what you are supposed to download. But then we are able to access a different object or like a different ID without even being that user. Maybe if 0 was for admin, we're able to access that one. Okay, so like some idle vulnerability here. So when we check out what's happening inside 0, 0 looks like it's some kind of an FTP connection, because looking at this one, it says the VSFTPD 303, and then it's logging in with the user Nathan, and then it's asking for the password, and then the password is just there in plain text. So like, yeah, we have credentials here, and then I think we'll be able to log in successfully into the FTP server. Yeah, so we can copy the password, copy, and then get a text file, place the password in there, then move on to a different tab, and then FTP Nathan at the IP address, hit enter. It's going to ask for the password. We type, paste in the password, hit enter, and we're able to log in successfully. Now we are inside the FTP server. So what do? We list out items inside the FTP server. So I hit the ls, and then you realize we have user.txt, test.py, temp.txt, linpiece.sh, and then these are all the files we can find inside the FTP directory. Now, so that is if you are playing, you have a user flag here. And then the next thing, we are not interested in, even though we've been able to get some kind of access into like the FTP server, but we need some kind of access where we can like do so many stuff, because FTP limits you to some of the commands you can type. These are the operations you can perform in an FTP server. You can't do like a lot. For instance, you can't, if you have sudo rights, maybe like Nathan has some kind of sudo privileges, he wouldn't be able to use those privileges inside an FTP server, because let's check S. Let's see. Okay, so you see like yeah, we don't have sudo in here. We don't have sudo in here, so we wouldn't be able to perform some of those things. So what we will do is try to find a way to get a shell. Okay, to get a shell, like some kind of like a command prompt instance, or like what we just have here on the machine. Okay, but let me not take you too far. Let's just go with trying to see if the user Nathan has SSH access to the system. Okay, so let's use a tool like netexec SSH, and then what's the IP address? Let me check from this side. 10.10.10.245, and I think the user is Nathan, and the password is let's see if this works. This right. All right. So what I'm trying to see is if we can have SSH access using the same credentials, and then it's telling us that yes, we can get a shell. using the username Nathan and then the password, what he has as his password. So without wasting much time, we just SSH. Like I said, you see, the first time I told you, we don't try SSH unless we have some kind of credentials. Okay. So now we have credentials, we have username and then password. So we can try SSH Nathan, and then it's going to ask us for the password. And then we just paste in the password inside, and then hopefully we get access into the machine, and then now we are Nathan. So if I'm to do the who am I command, yes, we realize that we are Nathan, and then we are inside the cap box from Hack the Box. So now we have initial access on this machine. We have initial access on this machine. So if we are to list the items here, realize what we have here is basically what we had inside the FTP server, just that we didn't get the hidden directory. So without these ones, everything here is the same thing we had inside the FTP server. So you can see that the FTP server is actually just from Nathan. So I'm sure if we are to create a file, let me see if I do put, can I do that? Do I have write access? Okay, permission denied. I can't write to this the FTP service. Yep, I can't write to it. Like if I was having like write permissions, anything I do here, I'm sure would actually appear inside Nathan's home directory. Okay. All right. So that was just by the way. Now let's, why is this thing here? All right. So let me take this one up again. Now, any question? It's, I think 7:42. Any question? Any question at this point?
No question from my end.
Oh,
Everything's
okay.
cool here.
But anyone having a question? Maybe I said something the person wants clarification. Any question before we try looking at the previous?
Well, there are no questions in the chat, so I presume everyone is okay to this level.
All right, sure. All right, so let's move on to. Does someone want to say something? All right, sure.
Oh,
So
no.
let's move on to the previous. So previous, most of the first thing I do is just check sudo -l to see if maybe the user Nathan has, or maybe it's part of some kind of permissions granted with, like maybe he can execute some kind of script or perform some kind of task with the sudo command, like he has some sudo rights, yep. And then it tells us no. And then we can check for SUIDs and then GIDs, which mostly I don't really know the command. So what I normally do is visit Siren security, and also on blog. Now, yep. So Siren security, Linux privilege escalation. And I mean, if it's only loads. Okay, Siren says we should wait a bit. Think now it's loaded, and then we can come down here to find SUIDs. Now, SUIDs is basically a permission set on a binary or a file, so that, or like a program, so that whenever it runs with the privileges or the rights of the creator. Yep. So looking at this one here, we don't have anything juicy here. Most of the things here are supposed to be there. So there's nothing for SUIDs, and then GUIDs is just like SUIDs, but this time the G is for groups. So like what I said about SUIDs, just replace them with groups. So we have cron tab, expiry 80, war, and then change. So I think this one too, there is nothing here for us. Now, if you don't understand why I'm saying that, is because maybe like after some time of doing these things, you realize that some of them just stick. Like you realize that most of them are like normal stuff here. So we don't have GUIDs here. The actual prereqs side is with the capabilities. Okay. capabilities, but then there is a problem here. I don't know if it was, yeah. Oh, so it's now working. I think the first time I tried it, it wasn't working with, yeah. The actual prefix side is with the capabilities. Now, these ones are, I think, going to be related to networks, where we have ping trace route, and then some MTR packets are relating to networks. And this is Python. And the Python binary on the system. So if I'm to type which Python, I think it's Python. If I do Python, you don't get anything. So I think Python. I mean, someone is trying to reset the machine. I don't know why. Let's just hope it doesn't get reset. Yeah. All right. So we realize that there is Python 3 on the machine. Now, the Python version 3.8 has the capability to do what we call set UID. Like set maybe like a user identifier or user ID, which means that we can use the Python script to set some kind of a UID. Now UIDs, if I do ps-aux here, I think I would find something there. Let's see. Is it ps-aux? It's a command where I don't know why it's giving me only Nathan, but where you see the IDs. Okay, let me check something. ID. Let's see ID. Oops. Yep. So this one. If we check here, the UID of Nathan is 1001. And then sorry. So the UID of Nathan, okay, it's actually 1001. And then the UID of root is 0. So in order to abuse the capability set or assigned to the Python binary, what we can do is use the Python binary to set the UID to 0 and maybe give us some kind of a shell, or maybe execute some, a shell, like give us a shell. So if we are to list the shell we have right now, or maybe cut, let's see, shells there. So we have these shells here. Okay. Now, whenever I say shell, it's just an instance of like the command prompt or the terminal. So we would use the Python binary to set the UID of maybe the current user, or to set a current user ID, and then use that current user ID to execute one of these shells, and it will get a shell as that user with that ID. But since we know that the UID of root is 0, which is our main goal, we will set the UID to 0. Now, to do that, there is a resource here, GTFO-bins. So we can go to GTFO-bins and then just search for Python, and then you can click on capabilities, and then this is it. I think because of this, then we wouldn't. But then if I copy it, let me copy it, and then paste it inside my this part here. And I don't know if this then can be. I don't know. Can I increase the font size? No. So I think this side would do, or maybe like a different one, and then we can just Control plus just this, and then Control plus. I'm sure what can I Control Shift plus. Yeah, so I think this is working out. So yeah, so what this script does is it calls the Python binary, which is what we have the capability set on, and then we give it the -c, which is actually going to take in this, and then I think it's going to run it as a command here. And then what it's going to do first is to import the OS model, and then set the UID to 0, and then execute like bin sh, which is part of the shell. So when I listed the shells here, which is bin sh, which is part of the shells here, it's going to use the system module in Python to actually execute it. So we are going to get a shell as a user with the UID of 0. That is just by using this. So what we can do is just copy this, go to this side, paste it in here, and change a few things. So now we don't need this, the / and then the period, but we need, I think, this one. So / user share, and we change this to 3.8. And then with all the conditions. Hello.
User bin, not user shell.
Oh, okay, user bin, sorry. User bin Python 3.8. So if we have everything set and then everything is okay, if I hit on the enter key, we should get a shell as the root user. Now something happened, okay. We now have a shell as the root user, but maybe there is nothing there for us to like see, or maybe what shows that he's the root user. So let's just look at this thing. So if you are a normal user in Linux, I think you'd have this pound, it's a pound, there's a $sign here to represent like I'm a normal user. For instance, if you come to my user here, you realize I still have this thing here. Now immediately I become the root user on my system. You see it changes to the pound sign. Now I'm root on my own system. It changes to the pound sign. Now you see what happened here. Immediately I hit enter, it changed from the dollar to the pound. Now the prompt is now blinking on the pound sign. So if I go back now, when I was Nathan, when I typed the ID command, this is what I saw, right? UID 1001 Nathan. Now with the pound sign, if I type ID and I hit enter, now what do we see? UID 0 root, and then the group ID, everything here becomes Nathan. But then the user ID here is root. If I use the who am I command, I am root, uname -a, and then should I do like a host name? I mean, like it's still the same thing. Yep. So basically, that is cap. Any questions?
Okay, try. That's been a long one, but we have some question in the chat, so let me read that for you.
All right, sure.
Okay, what are some of the ways devs can prevent either vulnerabilities?
All right, so one thing I normally tell developers is instead of using this what do you call it, like the counter numbers, like before you even become a developer, you should know how to count from like 1 to maybe some number. Okay, so like everybody knows how to count, and then everybody who uses the computer definitely knows how to count from 1 to a particular maybe limit. So we don't use maybe like these numbers. Then you can use some kind of maybe is it encryption or something? Not encryption, but what do they call them? It's not like you're going to encrypt the numbers, but I like to like you can hash them. But then you don't want to hash these same numbers, because if in place of 12, okay, if I'm to copy 12 and then I go to maybe what is it, cyberchef.org, and then maybe I'm to hash 12 using, I think there is MD5. Let me just use the terminal here so that I don't make it. So like if I'm to do like echo, maybe will it work? I think yeah, something like this. Okay, if I think that is just because it's 12 or something. Yeah, if somebody sees this, or let me just use strings, a longer one, maybe Kofi is a boy. Yeah. Now, almost everyone on the call, whenever they see this one, I mean, some people see that because of the padding here, whenever everyone sees this one, they know that it's base 64. So if you are to use this, here, like a base 64 encoding, okay. If you are to encode those numbers, like base 64 here, and then someone sees it, still now, yeah, you are still vulnerable, but at least you've done something. Because the person can just change this back to the original state and know that, okay, it's maybe like 12. And then whenever the person wants to move to the next ID or the next endpoint, they encode it in base 64 because they know that your program accepts like base 64, and then they encode the number and then they place it there and it takes them there. So you can use maybe like random generated IDs. I think when you use this, is it a library or something like UID4 or something, it can generate random numbers for you. And then you can use those ones as the IDs because they will not be easily guessable. So I think that is one way. And then another way is to maybe like have protected routes. Like, yeah. So for instance, if the user is Nathan, and then he's only limited to 14. Whenever the user tries to enter to access like 12, he shouldn't be able to access it. So I think that those are like the two stuff I can give you now because I'm not really like a developer. So if at least these two ones would protect you from the idle born. I think I've answered.
Okay, Hector Vincent, I hope your question has been answered. Okay. Does anyone have any other questions for Troy this evening?
Yeah, I do.
All
All
right,
right,
sure.
go ahead.
Yes. So I wanted to find out in the previous, if the binary /SC does not exist, are there any other binaries you can use to get your pseudo advantage?
All right, so before I answer your question, there's this guy. Okay, I don't know if it's going to even be related, but privilege escalation for me, when I'm on like CTFs like this, even though if it was maybe like you are trying to become root, but you don't need to stick to like maybe what these people have given you. You can like write a whole different script here because what you can write like a whole different Python script here instead of just doing this. Some people would in the system command here, maybe you would like let me see, I don't know if it will work, but you can just practice. Sorry, I was trying to do something, but you can try yours and get. You see, when I listed the shells, bin.sh, if bin.sh didn't exist, like bin bash exists, so you can actually replace sh with bin bash. At the same time, so maybe you didn't want a shell. Okay, you just wanted. So if I have to do exits and then let me see if you okay. Let's see. Now you see what happened. I don't know if you are seeing what's happening. I'm not executing any shell. I'm just executing shell commands. So, but because I have already set the UID, whatever happens inside the OS.system would be executed as root. So even if there are no shells for you to maybe take advantage of to escalate your privileges, you can still do stuff as root. Or better still, you can download maybe your own. I wouldn't advise you downloading your shell from your machine because sometimes they are not compatible. Like, okay. But then if you get maybe a compatible binary, or maybe you can just write your own script to maybe give you like a shell. For instance, like, oh, come on, let me try one thing here. Sorry, I think okay, we have like few minutes here. So let's see. We don't have okay, I mean that one cry would have still done the same thing. But yeah, there are so many things you can. I was trying to do like the net card, but it's still going to like give me like a shell. So I was trying to say that even if we don't have like the shells here, like yeah, so even if you don't have the shells here, you can still like execute commands here. And then you can find a way to create your own maybe shell from here. Maybe you can even use this after it's done here. You can run like some kind of a Python script. And then yeah, you are good to go. So like there are so many ways of like escalating privilege. You just have to know what you want to do and then know how to do it. And I think yeah, you'll be good to go.
All
I
right,
don't know if
thanks.
I've answered you. Yeah, sure.
Any more questions for Troy? Well, then
No
I'm
question from
guessing
my
we are
end.
all Okay, who is that? Are you trying to ask a question?
But now I'm saying that I've got no question.
Okay.
Good work, guys.
Troy, thank you for having us today. And
Okay, sure.
today's session was a great one. I think everyone has learned something new and we've seen something different approach methodologies. That's a good thing about joining these sessions. You see people's methodology and how they approach things. And you just add it up to your notes and you see, okay, this guy is in it this way. So thank you, Troy, for walking us through. And thanks to everyone who joined us this evening. We'll see you next Wednesday, and we hope to see everyone here again. Have a nice evening. We're going to sleep too. Have a good night.
All right, so yeah, good night.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.